today we made the long trek all the way from Hakone down to Kyoto. And it was a very fun morning. We woke up at the hotel resort where the onsen was. And we thought, you know what, we're going to have breakfast in our yukatas because we couldn't have dinner in them because we had gotten in late and we didn't get a chance to change. However, when we went down the elevator, nobody else was wearing them. And we were like, you know what, about face. So we went back upstairs, changed back into civilian wear. Kind of disappointing, but at the same time, plus-size people and yukatas don't exactly mix. Let's just say the Japanese aren't exactly used to American sizes. But we managed. We got that done. That was okay. But after that, we hopped on the bullet train and we zoomed through the countryside at insane speeds, got some really good video and some fun pictures of the landscape, watching it change from big city to rural area to smaller towns, back to rural area, back to big cities. And we arrived in Kyoto, which, I tell you, one of my biggest fears when we started this trip was that we would land here and it would just look like America. You know, it's a different place, but it all looks the same. No. No, 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 no. We are definitely in Japan. Everything here is just different. The streets are different. The infrastructure is different. The layout of the terrain is different. City planning is different. The houses look different. The yards look different. The weeds look different. That's awesome. Being out in Kyoto is a lot different from being in Tokyo. Tokyo is essentially a massive city. People who have lived in the city will know it's a city. They'll get the same feeling, the same energy, the same kind of people, the same kind of businesses. I mean, don't get me wrong, Tokyo definitely had its own thumbprint, but it is a city. Coming out here to Kyoto, on the other hand, everything is just older. It's more worn down. It's not as shiny. It's not as bright. It's not as colorful. It's historic. That's the only word I can think to describe it. And that's not like knocking it. That's not calling it bad. It's just how dramatically different everything is. But then we coming through, we saw all the rice fields, and they stretched on for acres. And that was this spectacular view coming through on the bullet train. You had just this massive miles of rice fields, and then you saw buildings in the background. And then behind them were mountains and even further distance. It just showed you, it gave you a scale of just how big everything is. But on another note, what did we actually do today? Well, for starters, we went to Nara Park, where some people might refer to it as the deer park, because it is famous for the number of wild deer who just kind of hang out and wait for tourists to feed them. These deer are not shy.
Ready to get it. They bow.
Is it yummy? Say num num num.
Teething.
Yum yum yum.
They're coming after you.
Okay, do one more. Mine fell.
Stop chewing my pants.
He wants you.
No, no.
I got one in my pocket. I'm trying to take it. Ow, 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 he's biting me.
But the deer park, Nara Park, is basically around Todaiji Temple, which is known for its massive, massive, massive wooden structure. And it's smaller than its original. There was a fire, it burned down. There was another fire, it burned down. And then they built the one that's here today. It's only 2/3 the size of the original temple. And it's huge. It houses the largest Buddha. Like, oh my god, the thing has to be at least 4 stories high. It was breathtaking. Standing there in the middle of the courtyard leading into the temple, like, I had to stop. I couldn't walk further. The sheer size and scale. I mean, we've been to other temples on this trip. The one over in Sensoji, and when we went to the Meiji Shrine, they were gorgeous and they were large, but they weren't they weren't this. There's no words to describe this. Gigantic just isn't enough. Grand isn't enough. It's spectacular. And it's pretty, and it's inviting, and they let you take pictures in there because it's a Buddhist temple, not a Shinto shrine. You know, different rules, different things. But I got all of these amazing shots, and just being in the presence of that great Buddha, it gives you a little bit of respect and humility. Just, there are things bigger than you, both figuratively and literally. After the giant deer park and the Buddha, we got to visit the Fushimi Inari shrine. And that's the one that has the thousands of torii gates just lining the pathway all the way. It was pretty crowded there, I'm not going to lie. There were a little too many people for my taste, but what are you going to do? It's a popular attraction. It's a giant tourist trap. People are going to go there, cry about it. But we got to go through a lot of the gates. We couldn't go all the way up the mountain because, again, we were on a timeline. But we did get to go about a third of the way up, and it's so weird. I mean, this whole thing was built kind of on a mountain because Kyoto's in a very, very hilly Piedmont area. Like, it's not quite the mountains yet. It's still the Piedmont, but the mountains are definitely kind of creeping in. So we went up these steps, and we went through all these paths, and all the while still going through all these torii gates that are just lined up, like, one after another, continuously, practically making you feel like you're inside, even though you're outside. And we came up to this small little cropping or trail in the mountain where there were just dozens of these little shrines. And each of them had a place where you could make an offering, and there was a little tiny figure to represent one of the spirits. And there were just so many of them, and all of them were unique and different. Some of them had bells that you could ring, others just respectfully bow. Some of them were more decorated than others. Some had actual little wooden housing for them. Others were just open to the elements. Some were made of stone, some were made of wood. And just the sheer number of them and the diversity and how they've all been cut into the terrain itself, just embedding themselves as part of this mountain. Engineers would be very proud, is what I'm saying. And I don't think I will ever find another place in the world just like that, because that was something special there. After that, the bus took us back to Kyoto, where we checked into our hotel, and a lot of us decided it's getting towards the end of the tour and we wanted to really have a fun night. And so since we were on our own, we decided to hit up a karaoke bar. And can I tell you, that is how you spend your money. You go in, you belt out all these songs from the 90s that are out of key. You regret that you can't sing more of the Japanese songs, but unfortunately the songbook is all written in kanji, and you know the song, but you don't know who sang it or what the title of the song is, and half of you don't have internet or you're too embarrassed to look it up or whatever. But needless to say, we had a great time singing all of the old classics, the hits, Piano Man, Wannabe, My Heart Will Go On, you know, Journey.
Oh.
There's something strange in your neighborhood.
Who you gonna call? Ghostbusters!
You don't have to feel like a waste of space. Your original cannot be replaced. If you only knew what the future holds. After a hurricane comes a rainbow.
Let it go, let it go. Can't hold it back anymore. Let it go, let it go. Turn away and slam the door.
Sing us a song, you're the piano man. Sing us a song tonight. And we're all in the mood for a melody. And you've got us feeling alright.
All of the classics, all the good stuff. So if you're ever in, well, I guess karaoke bars are becoming more popular. They're not just a Japanese thing. But so in general, if you ever have the chance to hit up a karaoke bar, bring some friends and have a good time. But that was day 6 or 7, however you want to count it. And the tour is winding down, and I can tell you, I'm really going to miss this place. Japan is an incredible country to see. And again, our tour guide has been very good. He's informative. He's keeping us up to date. He gave us this little headset with an earphone in it so that he can talk to us even though he's not standing right beside us, because some of these places are crowded and loud. So it's nice that he has a way to communicate to us. It's kind of weak, though. The frequency like pops in and out if he's not in line of sight. It's dodgy, but the thought is there. Good for him. Tomorrow we hit up the last of our big locations. And if they're anything like the ones today, I'm going to call it now. Just take a shot every time I say breathtaking, old, and wow. But that's it for me, and see you next time.